All right, guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling here in a matter of moments. I apologize for the late start. Like and share the show, viewers and listeners. Like and share the show. Live on the group, live on my personal Facebook page, live on Twitter. I'll confirm LinkedIn. J-Dubs, you got the headlines in. Live on I Love CVille. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. The UVA Board of Visitors is either meeting right now or the meeting just finished. The meeting was scheduled from 9 a.m. to noon today. Jason Noble, thank you for watching the program. We love when you watch the show, Jason Noble. Vanessa Parkhill, thank you for watching the program. We love when you watch the show, Vanessa Parkhill. We appreciate you, viewers and listeners. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. We're going to get rocking and rolling here in a matter of moments. Tag a friend in the comment section. We have audio and video, courtesy of the Jefferson Council, of a UVA librarian talking about militant protest. Very brazen to talk about this on camera. Lots to cover on the show, guys, on the Monday edition of the program. We're going to get rock and rolling. Are we live? We're not live on LinkedIn, Judah?
I'm restarting it.
We are live on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. All right, we can rock and roll here in a matter of moments, Judah.
All right. Quiet on the set.
Make sure we're live on LinkedIn. Are we up on that?
I'll check in a second.
Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us, the Monday edition of the I Love CVille show with a lot to cover. We are live on LinkedIn, Judah, so I see us live on my personal Facebook page, I Love CVille Facebook, and the I Love CVille group, and Twitter as well. Live on all social media platforms. We apologize for the late start. It's been a busy morning here at the old shop in the firm. A lot I want to cover on the program. The Board of Visitors of the University of Virginia is either meeting right now or the meeting just finished. It was scheduled from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. today at the Borsett. This was a closed session. The first meeting, ladies and gentlemen, since Jim Ryan's resignation. And boy, oh boy, did they cover a lot in the meeting today. We'll talk about that on the show. The Jefferson Council, and you know, props to the Jefferson Council. I hope they watch today's show. The Jefferson Council has uncovered a plot, I guess, at the United Campus Workers of Virginia Zoom call. Activists laid out their end game for UVA's Board of Visitors, which is stall, delay, and wait for Abigail Spanberger. Excuse me. That plot literally was discussed on a United Campus Workers of Virginia Zoom call. We're going to play 2 clips from that call, which we have downloaded, and we salute the Jefferson Council, tip of the cap to the Jefferson Council for publishing these videos and being just tenacious with their watchdog and their coverage. Don't always agree with the Jefferson Council, but respect and value the Jefferson Council, because having accountability, whether you agree or not, or having a watchdog, whether you agree or not with the methods, is paramount. Is paramount, especially in today's world where legacy media is dying and eroding quickly. We'll talk food and beverage today. We got a tidbit from Conan Owen of Sir Speedy. I hope he's watching the program. Love to give props to Conan Owen. Kung Fu Tea on West Main Street is now for lease. And he sent me a little note over the weekend that the Collier sign next to the old Uma's and Mono Loco location has since been removed. So we'll talk about Kung Fu Tea on West Main Street. That's next to the Pizza Hut. A couple doors down from the Public Fish and Oyster on that side of the road. The tea business is for lease, and the for lease sign next to Mono Locos and Uma is now gone. Smoke Kitchen and Tap Room on Route 29, which was the second location to the very popular first location in Crozet at Piedmont Place. Smoke Kitchen and Tap Room's ownership and management team have decided to close the Charlottesville location. Crozet location remains open. We'll talk about that on today's show. Goodness gracious, a lot on the docket today. We remind you, the viewer and listener, that on Friday of this week at 10:15 a.m., Scott Smith and Fred Missel, a contested election in the Samuel Miller District, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors will have a, Keith Smith is calling it Coffee with the Candidates. I mean, frankly, what it is a debate. So Scott Smith and Fred Missel on the I Love CVille network, Friday at 10:15 a.m. on our Real Talk show, where Keith and I will be peppering the candidates, Fred Missel, who works for the UVA Foundation, Scott Smith, who's a businessman, Missel, the Democrat, Smith, the Republican. We'll be peppering them with questions about their platform, their strategies, their ideas for a potential run for the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. It's going to take a lot for Scott Smith to win. I admire his courage and his willingness to run and put himself out there. He is relatively new to the area, moved to the area during COVID, but it's going to take a lot for Smith to beat this Democratic machine in Albemarle County, and Missel's got some name recognition. We'll talk that debate on Friday at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille network. Judah Wickower's studio camera, then a two-shot. Man, to be a fly on the wall, Judah, during the Board of Visitors meeting this morning. Mm-hmm. Interim president discussion, Jim Ryan's resignation, Department of Justice threatening the University of Virginia continues. The leverage of federal funding used against the University of Virginia. To be a fly on the wall in the BOV meeting, the first since Jim Ryan's resignation. We'll talk about that on the show. I want to highlight Sir Speedy of Central Virginia, owned by Conan Owen. I love the tidbits you send me, Conan, during the week, after hours, via email or text message, in the morning, around the clock, about business development in this community. Conan Owen and Sir Speedy of Central Virginia are locally owned and operated. If you have a logo and you need some kind of marketing collateral, done for your marketing collateral done for your logo, Sir Speedy of Central Virginia is your choice. Direct mail, window decals, signage, stickers. This step and repeat banner that's directly behind me was done by Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. Very positive experience working alongside Sir Speedy of Central Virginia and Conan Owen, who's a UVA Darden graduate. Judah, I want to get to the BOV meeting. I think the meat and potatoes of the show are these two video clips that we're about to play. I'm going to set the stage for it. The first clip I want you to get ready is the one with the lady in the black shirt, okay?
Is that the first or the second one?
That would be this one.
Okay.
You have that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to set the stage. We're going to play two clips on today's show. Make sure you get the right lower thirds on screen. These are clips from the United Campus Workers of Virginia Zoom call. This Zoom call took place, ladies and gentlemen, on Thursday night, July 31st. We got a ping from the Jefferson Council about this. Tip of the cap again to the Jefferson Council for putting this on the radar. I'll set the stage here. The United Campus Workers of Virginia had a Zoom call, and during this call, activists boldly laid out their strategy to basically throttle, castrate of power the Board of Visitors. The activists laid out their plan to castrate of power the UVA Board of Visitors. And that plan is stall, wait, let Abigail Spanberger win, and she's going to potentially dismantle this board and completely reset it. You then have, during this call, a UVA librarian talking about, on the call, on the record, in front of a camera, on a microphone, how the faculty may have to pursue militant protests and illegal faculty strikes, escalate their strategy to militant protests and illegal faculty strikes, organize, overwhelm, and enforce to try to control the narrative at UVA, specifically the next president of the University of Virginia, specifically castrate the Board of Visitors of power, influence, and clout. This is a crazy time to be alive.
Wow.
A crazy time to be alive. The first video we'll play is roughly 1 minute and 5 seconds. In this video, on Thursday night's Zoom, the United Campus Workers of Virginia discussed the strategy of castrating the Board of Visitors of power, controlling the decision-making with the president, the next president of the University of Virginia, the replacement to Jim Ryan. Let's get that sound ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Please play it.
If Abigail Spanberger wins in the fall, there's talk of resetting the whole UVA board. Do you know anything about precedents for a move like that, or even a substantial portion? I don't know about precedents. I think has been relatively rare in the past for governors to remove people from boards of visitors. I think one of the more likely things that could happen is Youngkin's appointees get tied up in the courts for a really long time, potentially until after the election. And if there's a new governor that is elected, then she could cancel those appointments and put somebody else in.
One thing I will say about governors removing UV members, there was the recent case of Youngkin actually firing Bert Ellis from the UVA Board of Visitors. So there is precedent for removing members for particularly egregious behavior.
Okay, so straight up talking on the record, the United Campus Workers of Virginia plan and strategy to stall till Spanberger wins what is clearly her race to win. She's running against Winsome Earl Sears, who's getting destroyed fundraising-wise, just replaced the campaign manager, and frankly, some of the collateral damage from what Donald Trump has done so far in his first year during his second term is pushing the political the political spirit and the political winds more Democratic than they've been, certainly when Youngkin won. Now, the next clip I'm going to play, and props again to the Jefferson Council, tip of the cap of them for putting this on our radar. This clip, the second clip, the Jefferson Council says, comes from the same meeting where Cecilia Parks, the University of Virginia's undergraduate student success librarian. First, what the hell is an undergraduate student success librarian? That's her title.
No idea.
UVA's undergraduate student success librarian frames militant protests and illegal faculty strikes as a viable escalation tactic, so long as they're organized enough to overwhelm enforcement. Listen to this. Legitimately is talking about faculty striking here. She casually, as the Jefferson Council says, outlines the logistics of a legal strike, emphasizing that it's not impossible, just a matter of coordination and numbers. No matter what the Board of Visitors decides or what the DOJ uncovers, there's a large portion of the UVA faculty, the Jefferson Council is reporting, that are trying to seize the moment right now and refuse to restore the direction that the Board of Visitors is pursuing. So you have literally the natives or the chickens trying to run the hen house here, which is a wild time. This is a roughly 46-second clip that I want you to play, Judah Wickower. Can you cue up that sound and play it in 3, 2, 1?
There's a lot of escalating steps in terms of like more militant protests and petitions and all kinds of stuff. Striking is a little bit tricky because striking, like refusing to teach, is illegal under Virginia law. That doesn't mean that we can't do it. There's been plenty. There's examples all through history of like illegal strikes or being successful. But it does mean that we just need to be very, very organized about it. And we would probably need like all of the faculty, to agree to not teach, because the idea is that they can't fire everyone. So, that's not impossible. It just takes like a really high degree of organizing to execute successfully. And there's probably a lot of steps in between that and where we are now.
There, you have a librarian talking striking and all of faculty striking.
As well as acknowledging that it would be illegal.
As well as acknowledging that it will be illegal. And the way to buck the fact that it's illegal is by having the entire faculty on board, because you can't punish all the faculty, because then you would have no school. It's so brazen to have this conversation on the record. And now we have some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. This, according to Virginia Public Media, this released about 10 minutes ago, right before the show. If you could put this headline on screen: UVA names law professor interim president. UVA names law professor interim president. This from Virginia Public Media. Paul Mahoney has been on the UVA School of Law faculty for 35 years. The University Board of Visitors announced law professor Paul Mahoney as the public university's interim president in the meeting they had today. Mahoney, who has been a member of the UVA School of Law faculty since 1990 and served as its dean from 2008 to 2016, will hold the role while the board conducts a nationwide search for a permanent successor to Jim Ryan. Of course, Jim Ryan departed on July 11th after unexpectedly announcing his resignation in late June amid pressure from the United States Department of Justice. So the meeting this morning yields an interim president. This news is literally breaking now. It's being reported by Virginia Public Media. It is not being reported anywhere else. So I am citing my source and giving credit to where credit's due. Virginia Public Media, VPM, is reporting that the interim president of the University of Virginia is Paul Mahoney, who's been on faculty for 35 years in the UVA School of Law. He's a member of the faculty since 1990, and he served as the dean from 2008 to 2016. So today's media yields results with the Board of Visitors, Judah.
Mm-hmm. I'm already seeing it on New York Times.
New York Times is reporting it right now?
Yeah.
What's the timestamp on the New York Times reporting?
Very recent. Let's see, 12:47 p.m.
So 4 minutes ago, the New York Times reported the news. Virginia Public Media, VPM, reported this, ladies and gentlemen, about 18 minutes ago. This is just as a microcosm of so much here. The fact that the New York Times and VPM are scooping local media is a travesty and an indication of where legacy media is today, frankly. Second, the fact that an organization like the Jefferson Council is the watchdog on much of University of Virginia's behind-the-scenes activity also speaks to the consistency and productivity of legacy media. I don't always agree with the Jefferson Council in their tactics, but I appreciate the Jefferson Council in their tenaciousness, their commitment, and their consistency to covering the University of Virginia. Yeah. Do they have a goal of doing this unbiasedly? No, but they don't have to. They're a media organization. They're not a media organization. So it's up to us to parse the information they position on their platform and use our judgment to decipher, is it slanted content? Is it content that is driving their mission or their narrative, or is it content we should legitimately consider? The content that we led with today, the 2 clips from late last week's United Campus Workers of Virginia meeting, is something I think the community should know. That's why we're playing those clips on the show. When university employees are actively on the record in front of a camera, behind a microphone, in a digital world, talking about striking, militant protest, and how you overcome law, which says striking is not legal, by forming a strategy of getting enough buy-in to the strike, then you have protection in numbers. That's concerning.
Yeah.
Because if that can happen at the University of Virginia, that can happen anywhere. Do you remember about a year ago around Thanksgiving at Charlottesville Public Schools with the high school, where the teachers all called in sick, or so many teachers called in sick on one day the school could not open?
Yeah.
That's essentially a strike. Mm-hmm. It's an organized sick out.
Yeah.
And nothing happened or materialized there. Another example of strike and the concern that comes with it is the Charlottesville Teacher Union organizing to refuse the invitation or refusing to invite UVA education students into their classroom to help teach their students because they don't agree with the University of Virginia and the Federal Executive Institute. The Federal Executive Institute is now officially owned by UVA. That happened Friday of last week. Just went through. UVA now owns the Federal Executive Institute. That would have been a debacle if Charlottesville Public Schools had owned the Federal Executive Institute. They cannot keep up their current buildings. How would they be able to keep up the largest potential holding in their portfolio, the Federal Executive Institute?
Yeah.
Would have been a debacle. Charlottesville taxpayers dodged a bullet with that one. So you're seeing very brazen. And you jump in if you have any commentary you want to offer, Judah. Mm-hmm. We're seeing very brazen. This generation, you call them what? Young millennials, Gen Zers, that are brazenly talking about protest and militant protest and strategies to buck enforcement, their superiors, the rules.
Essentially put a monkey wrench in the in the system.
It's bananas. It's absolutely bananas. It's a wild time here at the university. I see why the Jefferson Council is so motivated. You're at a time at the university right now where the faculty are brazenly going toe-to-toe with the Board of Visitors. Wild times. What's in that brain, Judah?
I'm just looking through a Bacon's Rebellion article talking about the no confidence campaign against the UVA Board of Visitors and the fact that it's been joined by the United Campus Workers of Virginia, obviously, and discussing the fact that strikes by state employees are illegal and hard to pull off. This is. I don't know what to think. At this point, do we think anything will come to the people that are making, as you put it, these brazen announcements?
No, I don't think so. I think they're fearless for a reason because they know nothing will materialize.
But until they get started on it, you would think that singling out individuals. Maybe it's just pointless. Maybe it's...
what do you think? Ginny Hu says this. Ginny Hu, what's your take on this? I really like when the activists say the quiet part out loud and the world can see where they actually stand.
Yeah.
This is a question for anyone that's willing to offer their thoughts on this. How, as faculty at prestigious higher education institutions, Ivy League or these top 10, 15, top 20 public universities in the country, how have we gotten to the point where faculty is I don't even think liberal's the right word.
Yeah.
This focus on activism instead of education. When did pursuing a job at an institution of higher learning become a pursuit of activism as opposed to a pursuit of teaching and research and innovation? On the pecking order of professional responsibility, is activism now atop the totem pole, ahead of teaching, research, and innovation?
It seems that way. They are. They're talking about the board publicly explaining the events that led up to the resignation, and they are asking that they ensure that the searches for interim and full-time president are voted on by a body that consists of at least 75% UVA students, UVA workers, and local residents.
Yeah, but that's just not how it's done.
I know. How do you amass that group and decide who gets to be a part of it?
John Blair's comment on the interim president. Paul Mahoney is one of the keenest legal minds in America. He had a successful tenure as dean of the law school. I think this is an excellent choice for interim president. I agree. I don't know much about Paul Mahoney, but I'll tell you what, his credentials certainly justify the interim president title. My pick was Ken Elzinga, the esteemed economics professor, but Paul Mahoney, no one's going to fault this decision by the Board of Visitors, who made the decision in the first meeting since Jim Ryan's resignation. I'll say this again. I think the plot and the ploy and the strategy to oust Jim Ryan from the University of Virginia is now imploding on those that led the coup.
I mean, do we even have any information on the coup? It seems like a lot of people are asking questions, including of the Board of Visitors, what was involved in President Ryan's leaving the school.
Well, from my standpoint, why Jim Ryan resigned. You had Youngkin appoint conservatives to the board.
Yeah.
Those conservatives in the board, led at the time by Burt Ellis, ordered their Jim's boss that diversity, equity, and inclusion be eradicated from UVA in totality.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan, his cabinet, his team were slow to eradicate DEI from UVA. Then when they eventually did it, all they did was rebrand DEI. It was still present. They shuffled a few things around. They just rebranded DEI. And then the board pointed out that that's all that was done. And then most likely behind the scenes, with people tied to Youngkin or tied to the influence of the board, maybe this is Ken Cuccinelli's involvement, who knows, the Department of Justice and the Trump administration got involved. When the DOJ starts getting involved, that's someone you don't mess with. You're talking about the heaviest of heavy hitters. The DOJ writes a letter, writes another letter, and each of these letters, each of these call to actions, they demand that the University of Virginia does this. UVA does nothing. Literally, the federal government telling them to do something, and UVA does nothing. The federal government has the keys to $300 to $400 million of federal funding that it allocates to UVA each year, and eventually the Department of Justice, their power, some call it overreach, some call it 100% within their lane. That pressure caused Ryan's resignation. Everything to that point went according to the plot or the strategy led by Youngkin or the Jefferson Council or these folks behind the scenes to oust Jim Ryan from UVA. But what they never anticipated was this, the actual, I don't want to call it the meat and potatoes here, but the replacement story, the next step, the denouement here. Like the ouster of Jim Ryan, that's the climax.
I don't think.
Now we have the falling action, and the falling action since the climax has not gone to plan in any capacity. The Cuccinelli appointment was a mistake by Youngkin. The firing of Ellis was a mistake by
Big
Youngkin.
mistake.
The Cuccinelli appointment was a mistake. Richmond, Virginia statewide Democrats vehemently opposed Cooch. Now you have political trade winds that are shifting Democrat-wise across the Commonwealth. When this ouster, when this Ployer plot was going on, Republicans were relishing in this Youngkin victory, relishing in the fact that the Commonwealth has become purple, relishing in the fact that Trump won a second term in the White House. So when this strategy was happening, no one anticipated this political climate we're in, where Spanberger's dominant to win, where Richmond Democrats have galvanized and organized against Youngkin appointments, where potentially early next year, Spanberger may drop a cannonball on the board and reappoint a bunch of new people. And now you have a UVA president that may not get picked till next year. Who's going to take the job now?
Yeah.
Who would take it now, knowing that a new governor could completely change what happens? It would be professional suicide. John Blair. Again, no one seems to notice that none of this is happening at Virginia Tech. Why is this not happening at Virginia Tech, John Blair says? Because STEM is supreme in Blacksburg: science, technology, engineering, and math. The liberal arts faculty is small and just is not able to gin up activism in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. The fights on campuses across America are at heart about funding. Faculty in the arts and humanities see more and more funding and focus turn towards STEM and business and law and away from them. Therefore, they view activism as a vehicle to fight cuts to the arts and humanities. As always, follow the money. Interesting take from John. Hard to argue with it. Why is the activism so significant at the University of Virginia? Is it because the liberal arts is such a significant piece of the curriculum or the education?
It could be. I think it's also likely that that there's more liberalism all the way up the chain.
Jason Howard watching the program on Rio Road. The sick out at Charlottesville High School last year was over safety after teachers were assaulted. Isn't that correct, Jerry? Yes. Part of the reason the sick out last year around Thanksgiving happened is because teachers felt unsafe in their schools. That led literally to the principal quitting in the middle of the year. That safety concern led to school resource officers being put back into schools and metal detectors being put back into schools by the Charlottesville School Board and the Charlottesville Superintendent. Jason Howard asked, what is the basis for a potential strike at UVA? I think the basis for a potential strike at UVA is a lot of what John Blair is saying. That we live in a world right now. We have a headline about education costs and expenses. What's the headline? Can you put that on screen?
Yeah.
Give me the nuts on that story.
Let's see. We don't have it in the lineup, but Virginia public colleges are raising the cost of tuition 2.1% for in-state students.
2.1%?
Yeah.
2.1%, the cost to go to school is going up when it's already expensive. Like, we live in a world right now where if you want to go to the University of Virginia and you want to major in art history, or you want to major in like philosophy, or you want to major in like music appreciation, or you want to major in some liberal arts degree or track that's not going to yield compensation ROI, you're going to be out $250,000, $300,000, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be out hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we live in a world right now where parents like me, millennial parents like me, who have kids, are instructing their children. My kids are far away from this, but I have friends that are in this boat. You can go to school, but you need to go to school for a degree that's going to yield an actual return on what we're paying. And that's business, that's law, that's medicine, that's engineering, artificial intelligence. We're not going to pay for this liberal arts stuff. We live in a world right now where the liberal arts tracks are so expensive that any cuts to those tracks are going to demoralize the upside of these tracks long term. So John's take is these folks, these activists, are fighting because they're fearful for their tenure, their job security. Maybe that's the case. Follow the money, he says. Janice Boyce Trevelyan says this: it would concern me if I had a child attending the University of Virginia in the fall. Jeremy Wilson says this is an absolutely self-centered generation, and that generation is the generation that is now working at higher education. Carly Wagner has comments. Her comment is a joke. You know, the 18-year-old UVA student knows best what makes a good president in the direction of the university. And Carly Wagner says about the faculty, where did that comment go? Comments are coming in quickly. Vanessa Parkhill agrees with John. She says, yes, follow the money. Often leads to a lot of answers. Vanessa Parkhill, Youngkin's biggest mistake was firing Mr. Ellis from the board. 100% agree. Mm-hmm. The action set precedent for Spanberger to make changes should she win in November. Things cascaded from there. Jim Ryan martyred himself and is walking away with stacks of cash in the process. I believe he played it brilliantly. Perhaps he also caught the board off guard as well. Bonus in his book.
I agree. I'm not sure that anyone intended for Jim Ryan to step down.
I think the Jefferson Council intended for Jim Ryan to step down.
I don't think so.
Why do you say that?
Well, the Jefferson Council maybe, but they're not in charge of anything, and they certainly didn't see the results of this coming. I'm pretty sure they did not see the Board of Visitors being completely gobsmacked with what to do following the resignation.
I agree, 100%. I don't think the Jefferson Council, who is clearly an influential player here, I don't think the Jefferson Council ever anticipated that Youngkin was going to fire Burt Ellis.
Yeah.
And once Burt Ellis was fired, the Jefferson Council lost a lot of control of this screenplay.
Yeah.
And when Burt Ellis was fired, and then Youngkin had the crazy motive or move or decision to replace him with Ken Cuccinelli, that's when the entire board got put in under a microscope of attention.
Yeah.
And we got put under a microscope of attention that this outgoing governor, Youngkin, could put, a lot of people call Ken Cuccinelli a racist. I'm not saying that, but a lot of people do. Democrats certainly do. He's got a history of very questionable decision-making as it applies to homosexuality, for example. And when Youngkin appoints someone of questionable decision-making, that is, in a lot of ways, a radical appointment, more so than Ellis, then that draws even more heat and attention. And then Ryan resigns. Mm-hmm. They never anticipated this part of the falling action.
Right.
They never anticipated Virginia going even more Democrat. There was some anticipation when all this was happening that Winsome Earl Sears could win. A black woman on the Republican ticket?
Yeah.
When she initially runs after Youngkin's still in office, everyone's like, hell yeah, Winsome Earl Sears could win. A black woman in Virginia? We're going to make history. The first black woman in the governor's mansion.
I mean, you had a black woman, you had a gay man, and you had
an incumbent.
Latino man?
Yeah, an incumbent for attorney general.
Yeah.
I mean, the ticket initially on paper made sense.
Yeah.
A black woman, a gay man, and an incumbent. Mm-hmm. And now the ticket is in shambles.
Yeah.
The lieutenant governor's not speaking to the attorney general or the governor. Winsome Earl Sears, John Reed, and Jason Mieres aren't speaking. They're not campaigning together.
Right.
Winsome Earl Sears looks like she's, incompetent.
Flailing, at least.
Flailing. She's losing 3-1 in fundraising. Just replaced her campaign manager. We find out her campaign manager is a preacher with no political experience, a black man because she wanted the black vote in Virginia. Then she realized, oh goodness gracious, I'm a few months away from the finish line. I better fire this guy because I'm losing so badly. Youngkin sextorts John Reed.
Yeah.
Right? With phony social media accounts. Jason Mieres is probably like, leave me out of this here. I'm the incumbent. I could win.
Yeah.
No one anticipated this.
No.
And now, do you think the president's going to be named in 2025?
I think the Board of Visitors will try to name someone, and just hope that maybe they're actually going to try to pick someone that everybody will agree on.
Do you think the president, viewers and listeners, is going to be named in 2025?
Because I think they'd be foolish to try to put someone who's a friend of the Republicans.
Does anyone think the president's going to be named in 2025? Do we think that Jim Ryan could be reinstated?
I think it's definitely a possibility.
I think it's definitely a possibility. He's still working here.
Yeah.
Teresa Sullivan got reinstated.
Mm-hmm.
Carly Wagner has some more insight here on the Federal Executive Institute. She says the Federal Executive Institute was in the middle of a roof replacement project that was called off when it was sold. If the Charlottesville Public Schools had gotten the Federal Executive Institute, it would have been a money pit for taxpayers. An absolute money pit. We dodged a bullet there, folks. Randy O'Neill says, I would never want these folks involved in my child's life. Jason Noble says the difference with the strikes with Charlottesville Public Schools and these UVA faculty is Charlottesville high school teachers had a legitimate reason to do what they did.
Yeah,
they feared 100%. For their safety.
Mm-hmm.
These UVA faculty have no legitimate reason.
No.
Jason Noble says nothing is going to happen to them, the UVA faculty. I also don't think it'll amount to anything but a few sad protests meeting at the rotunda.
He's probably right.
Margie King Collins and Grammy Ward watching the program. Carly says the UVA faculty have never had to live in the real world. Academia versus the real world. You know it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what you... Here's a sincere question. Ginny Hu, I'm getting to your comments here. I have a rising 7-year-old. Carly, you have kids. John, you have a son. Deep Throat, you have 2 sons. Viewers and listeners that have high school, middle school, or elementary age kids. Jason Howard, question for you as well. Knowing what you know now, would you encourage your son or daughter to apply to UVA?
It's a good question.
Think about it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You're a rising junior and you're getting applications out. You take the tour led by the university guides on grounds. Now the tour is led by a guide group not tied to UVA, where 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old guides are interpreting their own version of Thomas Jefferson and the university's history, including commentary on slavery, on Jefferson raping his slaves, and how people were exploited to build the lawn, the rotunda, and the academic village. This on a guide, on a tour of the University of Virginia with your parents. That's maybe the first taste you have. Second taste you have, you just Google UVA and you read about the Board of Visitors going through this comedy of errors, at best, more likely a castration of power, the firing of one, the appointment of another one, the one appointed blocked by Richmond Democrats,
Yeah.
an interim president, a full-time president not hired, Trump leveraging $300 to $400 million against UVA. The cheating scandal at Darden that's so rampant that they had to cover it up.
Yeah.
The white-collar racketeering at UVA Health that led to the CEO resigning, that led to the dean of the medical school quitting, the CEO of the hospital quitting, the pepper spraying of students at a pro-Palestine protest, 3 football players murdered by a man that everyone knew had a gun that was threatening to do stuff with the gun, yet nothing was done about it. At a time where they're going to raise the tuition another 2 points when it's already obscenely expensive because of the pursuit of this new Ivy League moniker. Go be a plumber, son. Be an electrician.
I don't think it's going to stop a lot of people from continuing to apply to UVA. I don't think...
And you're 100% right.
I don't think...
You're 100% right.
I don't think everyone's as aware of all of these things, especially not in aggregate. They may
I
have
think
heard
you're
of one or
100%
two, but I think most of them...
I think the people who are aware of it watch this talk show. And if you don't have the full scope of what's happening.
Yeah.
Carly says, yes, I would encourage, because I homeschool my kids and know that they are able to think for themselves and are never and I'm never afraid of exposure to different perspectives. Carly says, plus if I love them and I want them to stay close to me. That said, they will need to know what they are majoring in, and it will need to be a strong degree. Also, they will graduate with an associate's anyhow, so we'll be able to sit out most of the gen ed courses. Well, Carly's kids are on a fast track right there.
Nice.
Homeschooled, coming out of homeschooling with an associate's degree already. Jason Noble says that that's a big fat nope for me, Jerry, with my kids. Carly says, but my husband, a multi-generational Hokie, probably disagrees, but for totally different reasons going back way before the politicization of higher education. Can't wait to hear what Ginny would say on this. Ginny's got comments. The examples you listed are quickly changing too. For example, artificial intelligence has already shown fewer and fewer law clerks will be needed. You also don't know what can change on a whim. Current government hiring freeze has completely disrupted both public and private sector jobs and intel and security. She says, I have one who just graduated undergrad, one headed off to college, one entering high school. I didn't and don't want any of them applying to UVA, including graduate school. And that's from Ginny Who.
Yeah.
Wild times.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just tuning into the program right now, the breaking news that was reported literally during this show is the interim president has been named Paul Mahoney. He's been on the UVA School of Law faculty for 35 years. He was the dean from 2008 to 2016. Unbelievable times. Philip Dow says it's a sorry situation at UVA.
No doubt.
All right, it's 1:21. We got to make some money. Wild times. I remind you on Friday at 10:15 a.m., we have a live debate with Scott Smith and Fred Missel, who are running for the Samuel Miller district seat on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Contested election, a Republican and a Democrat. Friday at 10:15 a.m., we'll spend an hour with the candidates, and we'll live stream that hour for you, the viewer and listener, to get to know these two people. Got some food and beverage news to get out. Is there more to the smoked kitchen and tap room? Put that lower third on screen. Closing the Charlottesville location that meets the eye. They're keeping the Crozet location. They're closing the Route 29 location. Do we just chalk it up to that Route 29 location just being in a busted spot? There's been a lot of turnover at that smoke kitchen and tap room Route 29 location. Do we just say that was a bad spot? Or do we chalk it up at all to more of the Charlottesville brouhaha? Granted, that is technically, I think, in Albemarle County.
I would think so.
I'm not going to include them on the institutional restaurants that have closed in the last year list. I don't think Smoked is yet an institutional or iconic brand.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put them on the 13 or so iconic brands that have closed in food and beverage over the last year. Regardless, it's a sad story. A second location closed, and now jobs gone. More examples of headwind for food and beverage. Another example is this Kung Fu Tea story. Conan Owen passed this on to us. Kung Fu Tea, ladies and gentlemen, is closing. The Umas are on West Main Street. Closing, let me be more accurate with my commentary. The space is for lease. If your space is for lease while you have a tea shop, it's probably not a good sign for your business. It's for lease. All right. Oh, did you see we got a response from the UVA professor, Letty?
Yes, I did.
He's agreed to come on the show.
Yeah.
Letty Klotz, the author, the book when we were talking about the 40-hour work week, he's suggested the 18th or the 19th of August. So that UVA professor, Letty Klotz, make sure you respond to him so we can book him for the 18th or the 19th. I would prefer, Judah, if you want to make a note on that we do it on the Tuesday the 19th. First day of our oldest going back to school, celebration day in the Miller family. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, 61 years in business. Online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com, located on East High Street. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, ladies and gentlemen. Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Your pool cleaning needs, your cleaning supplies. They have a mechanic on site for that broken vacuum, that broken pool robot. Anything that you need repaired, a mechanic on site at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. They've been in business for 61 years. They're led by the Vermillion family. That's 5 generations in Albemarle County, and the business is 3 generations strong. John and Andrew Vermillion at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply, ladies and gentlemen. Support the businesses. You want to see make another 61 years of life and success here. That's the Monday show. Wild times at the University of Virginia. Tell somebody about the I Love CVille show, guys. Share the show with someone. We work hard for you. That's the only thing we ask in return. Thank you for watching. So long.